Hi there, welcome to Monetize Your Business podcast conversations in partnership with FNB. My name is Hetty the Entrepreneur and I am your host for today. But as always, you know how we do over here. I'm never flying this plane on my own. I've always got my sturdy and reliable co-pilot with me, Papa Biz. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm glad that we able to be here
Yeah.
and have this conversation with Caesar.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm very, very excited to have our conversation with Caesar. I think that we're going to thoroughly enjoy it. I was actually just saying to her how I love the videos that she puts out on social media. So we're going to unpack that a little bit more. She is a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur, from workplace advocacy to Monday Matters to even being a moderator and MC. She's just doing so many really amazing and interesting things. So welcome to our conversation today.
Thank you, Hetty, for having me. I'm very humbled. Let me just say that. I'm very humbled, to have someone watch my work and be able to see me befitting and so forth, So I'm quite excited to be here and to hear what you guys kind of throw.
Yeah. Awesome. Great stuff. No, we're looking forward to the conversation. Often at times, before we get into the meat of the conversation, we love to just learn a little bit more about yourself, who you are, where you grew up, just for us to have a little bit of a foundational understanding of who Caesar is.
Okay, so the name is Sizakele Motsuenyane. So, as I was saying earlier on, how Caesar came about, Sizakele was taken on social, so I had to find a name very quickly, It was the buzz. So I thought, in case at the end they pronounce it as Caesar, so I was like, okay, this is a good way to kind of establish me, So that's how Caesar came about. I'm a mother of three.
Okay.
Married to the love of my life. I still want to continue saying that. So, left corporate after almost 20 years, if not 20 years in corporate.
Wow.
Business banking for approximately 10 years. So entrepreneurship is kind of like something that I've had to partner up from a banking perspective.
Yes.
But let me tell you, one thing that people that know me will tell you, I've always said, I'll never be an entrepreneur.
Really?
Because of the experiences of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
The sleepless nights.
Oh, yeah.
The resilience. It requires a lot from you.
It does.
It kind of needs you to grow up.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, there's no funny kind business there. So I've always said, no matter what, I'm okay in my corner office, doing my job, getting my salary. There's no way I'm going to go the other way. And then fast forward to that, 2023, got an opportunity, decided to leave. Because also I'm also a student, so I've just submitted my dissertation in industrial and organizational psychology, master's dissertation.
Wow.
So with that, it was a bit of a struggle. So I was like, corporate stresses, corporate frustrations, and school.
Yeah.
I'm not finishing. Let me take this opportunity. When the opportunity presents itself, and God says, now.
Yes.
There was no other way. I had to be obedient enough to say, okay, let's leave.
Yeah.
Without a plan.
Wow.
Without saying, I got a job or there's an interview. I just said, I will see. God said I must leave. And I left in 2023. I hope my mother doesn't get to see this interview because she doesn't know. She still says, how's the bank? And I'm like, how's work? And I'm like, I was busy in meetings.
Yeah.
So moving from that, I think last year that's where I established a lot of me. A lot of me in a sense where now I'm harnessing the fact that who am I?
Yes.
Where do I come from? Born in Soweto, raised in the Vaal, Palm Springs, stayed with my mom, whom I had to witness, a struggle activist.
Yeah.
Actually, my mom was a struggle activist, so is my dad. So all those riots and all those things and everything else that was happening, my parents were like at the forefront and they were inside it. Let me tell you my question that I still asked, that I'm now understanding about myself. I used to ask myself, Bangenapi, like, why are you meddling in people's business?
Yeah.
You're okay. My mom would hear a scream next door and she would go to the rescue.
She would go.
I always wonder, like, what is your problem?
Sure. Where do you enter here?
Where do you enter here?
Yeah.
And fast forward to that, I've entered in places where I did not need to enter.
Wow.
Sure.
I mean, people would have an uncomfortable conversation and I would advocate for them.
Wow.
In corporate, I was also the chairperson of diversity, inclusion, and equity. So more of that came also now starting to make sense.
Yes.
So when I see injustice, rest assured I'm not going to walk away.
Wow.
So yeah, I am that person. I advocate for people. I stand for people. I always say I'm the voice of the voiceless. Hence Monday Matters was
Oh,
born.
wow. It's Monday Matters, eh?
Yes, just to get the wellness in the corporate space, the nuances of not being able to speak about certain things.
Yes.
And what's beautiful is that I've experienced it. I was there.
Yes.
I know how it is to be alienated because you're too loud, you ask a lot of questions, you seem to be rebellious. Even when you have a good point, you seem to be rebellious.
Sure.
So Monday Matters is purely on that. Trying to advocate for that voice and that
Yes.
uniqueness to say, own yourself, own your voice before somebody else does.
Yes.
So yeah, that's me.
And then yourself, were you an only child? Did you have other siblings?
Ooh. With my mom, there's two of us. With my dad, around 9.
Oh, wow. Big family. There we go.
A very big family. I'm the last of the girls.
Okay.
I've got 2 younger brothers, 18-year gap. They're twins. They just after me 18 years later. But well, we all have different mothers and so forth. But we're a big family, centered around the unity that my dad left us with. He was very firm on that. He used to say, you might have different mothers, but you are born of this DNA.
Yes.
So this DNA unifies, it does not split. So to this day, I can say
beautiful.
we've got a good relationship with my sisters and my brothers.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh, that's
And
lovely.
for you, growing up, you said you grew up in the Vaal. What age period was that? What was it like for you growing up?
So we left Soweto. So I was born in Soweto, and then we left. My mother and I left to stay in the Vaal.
Okay.
I think I was around about 4 or 5. So I was too busy as a toddler, right? As a child. I think at the age of 4, my daycare then decided, okay, she's overtaught. She must go to school.
Oh,
So at the age of 5, I started grade 1. Back then it was sub A.
Sure, really?
So at the age of 5, I started sub A. From that point, I was independent. I've always been an independent child. So growing up with my mother and the struggle, I remember there was a time when I was 5 and she was unfortunately arrested. And I got to be told by the lady that was looking after me during the day. She said, okay, Mama is not coming back. Mama is got John Foster. So I didn't understand what John Foster. I mean, at that age, you kind of don't understand. Like, no, Mama is got John Foster fighting for the rights of women of this country.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how my childhood was. And then I ended up, so in that period, we only came back to Soweto when I was like 16, 15, 16, that's when we came back. But for a good 10 years, it was me and Ma. And then, yeah, with all these things that were happening, we were in other people's businesses and trying to, mediate. She's always loved mediating. She'll sit with the husband and the wife. Although, yes, there was a bit of backlash, which there'll always be in the community. But you kind of understand that when you're true to your cause, backlash is nothing. When you're following your purpose, people will say no. People will say, yeah, papa. People will say, where do you enter? But you just will not walk away.
Sure. I'm actually getting goosebumps at just the imagery of you at that young age and your mom being arrested because she's obviously fighting such an important cause. And often at times you hear from the children of these, these advocacy pioneers, these stalwarts, that you have to grow up quickly. You have to have this strong sense of responsibility and of self because you often end up sharing your parents with the nation. Tell me a little bit about that.
If I say there was ever a home where it was me as a child, I'd be lying. To this day, even in my own household, it's never my kids. And it's something bigger than you.
Yes.
I used to think Mama was just too much. Like, can I not just have my own space? Because when you get it also into teenagehood, you want your own space. You're trying to figure yourself out. But there's always somebody else. So Mama will go we call her Maui. Maui will go and mediate and then feel that the kids are, it's a bit unstable tonight because of the big fight. They're a bit, unsettled. Let them come and sleep over. So in the early hours of the morning, you'll get somebody else sleeping on the other room. Or on the other, we actually had a 2-bedroom, on the other bed. And then you're like, okay, so this is where we are.
Yeah.
So in the morning, you have to, and sometimes it was somebody slightly younger than me, which was also nice because then I get to be the bigger sister.
Yes.
So I got opportunities to help with homework after school and just to check. I've always been an anti-bullying person.
Yes.
So I have this thing of asking, how was your day? Who was nice to you? Who wasn't nice to you? Even my kids now, I say to them, who was mean? And they'll say, what do you mean? And I'm like, so that I can go and give them a flying kick. So I've centered myself around being somebody else's keeper because I grew up being somebody else's keeper.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's very inspiring. It's a huge responsibility, but we do need to normalize these conversations because there is a lot of toxicity in the world. In the workplace, there is bullying. Often at times we think that, it's just, in the school context, but a workplace is just a school for adults.
Yes.
It's the same dynamics. They're popular people, they're less popular people. Where did that passion and energy come from for that anti-toxic workplace advocacy?
So when you sit in meetings, right, you mind your business type of thing. But there's certain tones that will come out. And some leaders have a way of sifting who they say what to.
Yes.
So I was already known for, I will call it out. I was already known that I'm the chairperson of diversity, inclusion, and equity and stuff. So it won't necessarily be directed to me.
Yes.
But it will be done to other people.
Yes.
So I started from an industrial psychology perspective also. So from a school perspective, that kind of gave me the confidence because I'm not speaking of something that I researched or somebody told me about.
Yes.
I understand the psychology of manipulating the mind to think you are nobody, to think that, we are doing you a favor by hiring you. So I kind of mastered the craft of really understanding that if somebody says something like this, the tone, the body language, the sarcasm, because that also happens.
Well,
it happens a lot. The tribalism, that's something that we don't, that is not getting popular, but it's there where people click to their own.
Yes.
But in them clicking to their own kind of removes you.
Yes.
Kind of removes you and you feel alienated in your corner because you're not in the same type of clique that they want.
Yeah.
You're not, maybe you're not Sotho, you're not Zulu, you're not Indian.
Yes.
And those things are there.
I've seen that. Even ageism as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's those things. So for me, it's more like I understand what it does. I understand the psychological pain it causes to the person that is being, inflicted upon. So I will not sit back. As a result, whenever there's meetings and I hear a tone that I don't like, now, recently I've had to understand that not everybody wants your help. I think I've also covered that in the last live to say victim or villain. Not everybody wants you to intervene on their behalf.
On their behalf,
Yeah. I used to butt in. And then I'll be left with egg on my face. Because people then, you come pumped up and you say, let's send an email to HR, and somebody says, Caesar, just leave it. Then I fall flat. So I've learned to get consent.
Yes.
Not everybody wants you to say, let's take it on.
Yeah, you have to kind of meet them where they're at.
Exactly. And that's a very critical point that we it's underrated. Meet a person where they're at, whether they're at a place where they don't want, they're okay with the way things are. Maybe they're dealing with something bigger than the workplace challenges. They don't want to start another fight.
Yes.
Somebody is comfortable with the fact that I do not want to go look for another job. I know if I start this, I'm going to get fired. Just because I'm strong and I can stand up for myself and I'll not get fired because I'm standing for the cause, doesn't mean they feel confident as I am. Yeah. So it's quite hectic. It's hectic in the corporate space.
Now I've picked up, just in terms of your journey and also your parents, how the advocacy would be quite strong within you and also within the workplace, and it lends in terms of the studies that you have around psychology. And you mentioned as well earlier how you're a person who would not be somebody to go into business in terms of what you'd see within business banking and things like that. So how did you end up starting?
So I think that starting was more like a default setting, right? There's been things that I had to remove to say, one thing, I'm not going to go back to a toxic environment. And then when you hear word on the street, it's toxic everywhere. And then you're like, okay, does that mean that I'm not going to go back? So it took a lot of prayer and a lot of, okay, where to from here? There were times where I was ready to say, okay, this is bigger than me. And then I'll get grounded and I'll pray. And I'm always guided by the scripture, Philippians 1 verse 6. He who started a good thing in me shall see it to fruition. I mean, he started this. He said, leave with nothing. Surely he will carry me to the next phase. I'm still in the figuring phase of what do we do? Because business is scary.
It is.
Business is scary. Business requires a whole lot of you, not parts of you.
Yes.
Then also, while you're in business, you look at, I advocate for people. What if I get these type of people?
Yeah.
I always used to say as a leader, a great salesperson doesn't make a great leader.
That's true.
Because your drive at that space is not the same. When you are working with yourself, your autonomy levels are high. But when you have to get other people to have the same spirit that you had, it's not the same. So there's a lot of discipline that I had to sit and ground myself and say, okay, now we are starting this. We are starting Monday Matters. Okay, how do we then move Monday Matters forward? I need to be consistent. I need to show up. Even on days where I don't want to show up. Even on days where I'm going through me. I need to find ways of why did I start?
Yes.
So why am I in the business now? It's because I can say I've learned some few tricks.
Yes.
I understand that an entrepreneur doesn't sleep when it's month end.
Yeah.
Yo.
An entrepreneur suffers a loss if the employees don't do what they need to do.
100%.
And that's what made me start to say, am I willing and am I ready to have those cutting edge conversations with the next people, and how do I put myself out there?
And you mentioned this Monday Matters. How would you describe Monday Matters? What is that platform?
Okay, so the platform looks at the wellness of human beings, right? I always use now this word, they say above rank, above race, above gender, we are human. So it kind of neutralizes whether you're a CEO or you are the cleaner in the company. We are all human.
Yes.
So Monday Matters aims to humanize business, aims to remind the person that even though you're a worker, not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur. Let's be realistic.
That's very true. Yeah?
Let's be realistic. And sometimes people sit there and they think they can take over. You know, they think, I can do that. But not everybody has the resilience or the calling to be that entrepreneur. So Monday Matters kind of says, we meet you at the level that you're at. We meet you at your worker level. We meet you at your cleaner level. We meet you at the tea lady level. But we are saying, while you are the tea lady, the CEO will respect you because you also give respect. So it's just to make sure that above everything, we are all on a neutral stage of humanity. Then from there, we can then find an amicable way of operating in this particular organization.
What do you think people struggle with the most when it comes to advocacy, when you try to help them? Is it them finding their voice? Is it them kind of also even just realizing that they do have autonomy? Where do people struggle with the most?
So people struggle with finding their voice and stay in the cause. Stay in the cause. It's not going to be an easy ride, right? To explain something very quickly. If you say to a person, this is a discrimination.
Yes.
We're going to put a grievance.
Yes.
It's not sending an email to HR and waiting.
Yes.
So when you explain to people that before you go and you file for a grievance, there needs to be portfolio of evidence. You need to give the HR person stuff. You know, you need to prove that this is warrant this whole accusation. Otherwise, it's just foul play. So people often, when we get to that stage, they're willing. So it's, I always say, detach yourself from the feelings. Because sometimes we get into the feeling of, I want to get Hetty down. Oh, you know what? She violated. Okay, call the violation. Name it. See?
Yeah.
The person now doesn't know. Then what
Yeah.
do? They draft an email out of emotions to HR explaining what you did. And then HR says, how did it make you feel? There's no feelings attached. It's actually, people do not know how to say, I was angry. I wasn't hurt. You know, so what I then do, I've been doing that, I think, since 2024. Whenever you feel that there's an email, because sometimes HR gives you a pushback that makes you even more scared. And then they come to me and then they send me the email. So I've been having a conversation with HR.
Yes.
This is what's happening. And then I say, okay, number one, I'm not attached to the email. So I'm able to be frank but professional.
Professional, yes.
And I'm able to put the dots down. So I'll take a step back and say, give me a roundabout of what had transpired before we
Yes.
got here.
Yes.
Then sensitize them to say, okay, from the tone that I'm getting, chances are you also did not do what you needed to do. So we need to start bracing ourselves for what's coming. Then at times, yes, I've had cases that have actually gone to the CCMA.
Sure.
Wow, okay.
So you realize from there, I don't know if you know the queues at the CCMA.
Hey,
Hey. Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I stood there. And you realize that it's something that we just think, you know what, I'm not going to do my job. And then boom, if they fire me, I'm going to go to the CCMA. Get to the CCMA, they throw it away. Because then they say, what did you do in the organization while you were employed? While you were employed, what did you do? I sent an email to HR. Okay. And then after?
They need to know that follow through.
I follow through. That's where our problem is. People do not follow through. Yes, it feels like a task, but it's a task. It's your well-being.
Yes.
This is your life.
Yes.
If you don't follow through here, then you lose. And it's a chunk
Yeah.
that you lose, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just that. Follow through. Send an email, but follow through.
Sure. Yeah, it's actually so deep. It's got so many layers to it. Yeah. How has the response to Monday Matters been in terms of the conversations you're having, and where do you kind of see it growing from here?
Okay, so currently it's a bit of both, right? And that's where analytics come through, where we try and figure out that our audience, our followers, is it mainly the leaders or is it mainly the workers? So once we get that balance, we are able to then say what content is necessary for these two groups. Do we keep the
100%.
two, or do we branch out and say we are only speaking to these people?
Yes.
So post that, we're having actually our first brunch face-to-face on the 29th of March.
Oh, nice.
So,
Lovely.
yeah, we want to try and do something, you know, kind
Nice.
of build a very solid community.
Yes.
Lovely.
Where we're now saying we want to put, you know, the face to the names and then try and have that sisterhood and brotherhood type of thing.
Yes.
And then looking for a space where we're going to have like a podcast one day, as well as now we're going to do something called a marketplace.
Okay.
So put it as an advertising space, also
Yes.
collaboration.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if you've been to a psychologist, right? When you go to a therapist, they refer you to a psychologist. Psychologist refer you.
Yes.
You know, we want to have a network like that, where somebody says, this is where I am, and then we say, this is Hetty, speak to Hetty. And that creates that, you know, oneness.
Yeah.
To say, I've vetted, I know I'm referring you to somebody that is solid, that will be able to help, not seek help, you know.
Yes.
Seek help, this is a person that will help. In our community, we've got coaches, we've got mentors.
Yeah.
You know, here's a person. We know their
Yes.
work, we've seen what they do and so forth.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Tell us a little bit more about the brunch. You said it's happening on the 29th of March.
Yes.
Okay. Where is it happening? How do people get tickets, etc.?
So the brunch now, we found a spot in Sandton. I think we're going to actually send a poster today. Found
Lovely.
a spot in Sandton. Everything will be posted on social media, on our Monday Matters, as well as my page, Sizakele Motsuenyane. It will be 300 rands. So on the 29th, I think between 11 and 2, we're trying to capture our presence. We are looking at topics from thriving to surviving.
Okay.
And then also, how do you stand there and show up for yourself?
Yes.
Personal branding and personal
Yes.
proposition.
Lovely. I love that. I love that. And I'm sure they're going to get great value from that as well.
100%.
Yeah.
We've got a few speakers lined up because we're looking also for solid stories. You know, you want to be grounded at we are human. This is not somebody that is botched in their story, but you know, we've got I think Zuzu who was an engineer,
Lovely.
mechanical. Now she owns her own workshop and so
Yes.
forth.
Nice.
We've got Lindy Ratlachane, who also started she's into Vision Board now, started as an employee and then also decided she wants to do her side hustle and so
Yes.
forth. And then there's a lady, Mildred, she just wrote her book, She Rise and Thrive.
Lovely.
She also has a very unique story to share, coming from Zim, almost getting married, you know, because of the norms in Zimbabwe, and coming to South Africa and ending up marrying a Zulu guy, and all those things kind of brings together
Yes.
stories of people for the people.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's beautiful. I absolutely love that. I know that we're looking to kind of wrap up. If a person is listening to this conversation and they're thinking to themselves, I really wonder if I am in a space where I do need to look a little bit more at my environment within the workplace. I'm hearing through this conversation that perhaps I could be experiencing some of these things that you've spoken about. What are some of the actions that they can take right now to kind of help them?
Okay, so it depends on the intensity of it as well, because we're also not trying to get people unemployed to increase the
Yes.
unemployment rate, right?
Yes.
Certain instances, people need to first understand their current. What is the situation?
Yes.
How deep am I in the situation? And what is the picture? You know, sometimes we actually know that I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I don't belong here. So dragging it ends up being sour. My sister always used to say, sometimes when the end of a season comes, dragging it and holding on to the season. That's why we see people wearing boots in summer.
Yeah.
Hanging on to the season will not bring the
Yes.
season.
Yes.
It will actually start ending in tears.
Sure.
You know, and it's true also at work. You kind of can see the telltale. You need to then sensitize yourself to what is my next? What do I want? But the core function of what I do is to make a person realize, am I living my true purpose? Am I living my true self? Because sometimes the conversation is, Caesar, do you want to be in that company? Then apart from when we put the parts where you need the job, I was asked that question. When I said I'm leaving, my boss said, you need the job. I said, I understand I need the job, but there's something else that I need more than the job, right? I need me. And that's the crux of all of this. If a person feels that I'm stuck, I'm picking up, side notes from there, you get help. You reach out to make sense of what's happening. Say, my boss is saying these type of things. What do you think? Then from my side, I say, this tone is telling you that you are being quite fired. There's a word like that.
Yeah.
You're being quite fired. You're being honestly, you're gonna leave on your own.
Yes.
But actually you were fired.
You were actually fired, yeah.
Because you were pressured to leave. And when you're out the system, there's no way to come back.
Yes.
Let's act while you're in the system.
Yes.
So that's where I come in, to give you that overall, where are you?
Yes.
What do you want to gain out of this? Do you want to stay in the organization? Also sets the scene for the email that follows.
Yes.
Where I'm not also guns blazing. I come back with a tone of, okay, let's calm down a bit. Let's reach a solution.
Yes.
Because now I'm becoming the mediator.
Yes.
I'm becoming the mediator so that at least we keep you until the time you are ready to leave on your own accord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. I love
Cool,
that.
man. And I'd want to check, obviously we're wrapping up now and having entered into this entrepreneurial space. Do you have any message for other budding entrepreneurs as well?
Well, truth of the matter, every seminar that I've attended and every word and every entrepreneur, it's always been, I need money, I need funding. Some of our ideas are free. Your purpose is free. The funding comes after you understand what is the value you're about to bring.
Yes.
Because sometimes we just stuck on that. I just recently read a book that said, girls, stop apologizing.
Yeah.
Because it's excuses after excuses. And when I was asked, what is the biggest excuse? And I said, it's the excuses after excuses.
Sure.
I can't pinpoint one, but I've always found something that said I couldn't. So your purpose meets you where you are,
True.
not where you've leveled up.
Thank you for that.
Sure, that's very, very powerful. Gosh, it's been such a wholesome and well-rounded conversation. Papa Biz, what has been your biggest takeaway?
I think the takeaway is, there's always a question in terms of, entrepreneurs are born, can anybody be, or is it only for a certain type of people? And I mean, you spoke for quite a long time in terms of how, hey, you were never going to go in terms of that route. And sometimes when you look back, especially in terms of, growing up and the advocacy, how to so strong within you, at some point you can't run away from that.
True.
At some point you need to embrace that. And it's interesting where the road actually leads and takes you to.
True.
And then that's how you're able to see and feel more purposeful to be able to impact others.
Absolutely. I've actually just enjoyed really being in your presence. You've got such a lovely energy, and you can tell when a person is passionate about what they're talking about, and that energy then tends to rub off on you. I really enjoyed you sharing with us the transition from corporate, because it is so true that often at times we just need to be obedient to the next chapter. Yes. But it's scary because you don't know what lies on the other side. But being obedient to it, you often then find that when you make it to the other side, there is so much that's waiting for you that you didn't even know. So I think you sharing that was, absolutely amazing. Tell me, if somebody is watching this and they're thinking they need to get in touch with Cesar, they need to, book a consultation, book some time with you, maybe unpack with you what their situation is, so that you can then be able to help them craft a way forward. How do they get in touch with you? How do they plug into Monday Matters as well?
Okay. I'm using social media.
Yeah.
Instagram, and now back on Facebook.
Okay.
So it's Sizakele Motsuenyane on Instagram, Sizakele Motsuenyane on Facebook, and then Monday Matters _ZA on Instagram. We still now moving it, also trying to get into the Facebook. We're looking at your TikToks. So social media is playing a big role, like a very big role.
Yeah.
But they can get me there. You just send me a DM. I still have a small following, so still am very pedantic about attention to detail.
Yes.
So I do respond. I do try by all means to be very prompt with that. So they can do that, and I mean, we take it from there.
Okay.
Cool.
Fantastic. I absolutely love that. We'll definitely link those details down below within the description. Make sure that you do get in touch with Cesar, and you're going to enjoy her videos. She's very candid. She's very open. I'm thoroughly enjoying them. So I think that's going to be really fantastic.
Yep.
So that brings us to the end of yet another really, really great conversation. Don't forget to follow Monetize Your Business in all social media platforms. Keep an eye out for where our latest workshops are going to be. We are on the ground. We are on a tour. So make sure that you are following us to see when we are coming to a space near you, so that you can plug into these physical workshops as well. Until our next episode, bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.